I, 29M, still can't believe what happened last night. My hands are shaking as I type this, but I need to get it off my chest and maybe get some perspective on whether I overreacted. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and I absolutely love my job. The joy of shaping young minds, seeing their faces light up when they understand something new. It's what I was meant to do. Sure, I don't make six figures, but I make enough to live comfortably and I'm happy. My fiancée works in investment banking. We met 2 years ago through mutual friends, and despite our different careers, we clicked instantly. She never seemed to mind what I did for a living. At least, that's what I thought until last night at her firm's holiday party. I'd been nervous about attending. It was my first time meeting most of her colleagues, and I wanted to make a good impression. I put on my best suit, and we headed to this fancy hotel downtown where the party was being held. The first hour went okay. I stood by her side, smiling and nodding as she introduced me to her coworkers. I noticed a few raised eyebrows when she mentioned my profession, but I'm used to that. What I wasn't prepared for was what happened during the dinner. Her boss was going around the table, asking everyone about their work and contributions to the firm. When he got to my fiancée, she started talking about a major deal she'd closed. Then he asked about me. Before I could answer, she laughed and said, "Oh, he teaches kindergarten. You know, finger painting and nap time supervision. At least someone has to do it, right?" The table erupted in laughter. I felt my face burn as she continued. "Sometimes I joke that I have 2 jobs, my actual work and then helping him grade coloring books at home." More laughter. Someone at the table quipped, "At least you'll save money on childcare when you have kids." This got the biggest laugh of all. I sat there, frozen, as my fiancée played up to her audience. She went on about how cute it was that I got excited about teaching kids their ABCs, comparing it to her closing multimillion-dollar deals. Each word felt like a knife twisting in my gut. The worst part? She wasn't drunk. This wasn't some alcohol-induced mistake. She was completely sober, deliberately humiliating me for the entertainment of her colleagues. I looked at her, really looked at her, and suddenly saw someone I didn't recognize. The woman I loved, who'd supposedly supported my passion for teaching, was mocking everything I stood for. Something inside me snapped. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. The laughter died down as all eyes turned to me. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I'm sorry that my dedication to educating children amuses you all so much. And I'm especially sorry," I turned to my fiancée, whose smirk was fading fast, "that I wasted 2 years believing you respected me and my career." I reached into my pocket and placed the engagement ring on the table. "I won't be needing this anymore. Find someone whose career choices you can actually be proud of." The silence that followed was deafening. I walked out of that hotel ballroom with my head held high, ignoring her calls behind me. My phone has been blowing up with messages from her, her family, and our mutual friends. Some say I overreacted, that it was just harmless joking. Others, who know how passionate I am about teaching, understand why I did what I did. But sitting here in my apartment, surrounded by the lesson plans I was working on before this whole mess, I keep wondering, did I overreact? Should I have waited to discuss it privately? Was throwing away a 2-year relationship over one incident too extreme? Yet every time I close my eyes, I hear her laughing at me, see her smirking as she belittled my life's work. The more I think about it, the more I realize this wasn't just about one night of humiliation. It was about respect, or rather, the complete lack of it. Update. It's been 3 days since the party, and I feel I need to share what's happened since then. The responses to my last post were overwhelming, and they helped me see things clearer. After I left the party, I turned off my phone and spent the night grading papers. Yeah, actual assignments, not coloring books. There's something calming about focusing on my students' work. Around 3 a.m., I finally checked my phone. 47 missed calls and over 100 messages. Most were from my fiancée, ranging from angry to apologetic. Her last message hit different though. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just get insecure sometimes about what my colleagues think. Please, can we talk?" That's when it clicked. This wasn't about me or my job, it was about her insecurities. She was so worried about impressing her colleagues that she was willing to throw me under the bus to do it. The next morning at work, one of my kids drew a picture of herself becoming a doctor. When I told her it was wonderful, she said, "But Daddy says teachers don't make much money." I looked her in the eye and said, "Money isn't everything. The most important thing is doing what makes you happy and helps others." The irony of that moment wasn't lost on me. During lunch break, my fiancée showed up at school. She was dressed in her usual power suit, looking completely out of place among the finger paintings and alphabet charts. The front office called me, but I asked them to tell her I was busy with class prep. I couldn't face her there, in my space, where I do the work she thinks is so beneath her. She left a handwritten note with the secretary. I read it during my actual prep period. She wrote about how sorry she was, how she got caught up in the moment, how she actually admires what I do. But one line stood out. "We can work through this if you're willing to be more understanding of the pressure I'm under at work." More understanding? I've supported her through every late night, every stressful deal, every work crisis. I've listened to her practice presentations, brought her dinner at the office, rearranged my schedule countless times to accommodate her work events. And yet, she couldn't give me basic respect in front of her colleagues. That evening, her sister called. She's always been the reasonable one in their family. "Look," she said, "what she did was awful, but everyone screws up sometimes." She's devastated. "Maybe you two should talk it out with a counselor?" I asked her sister one question. If she was so proud of my work, why did she never once mention it to her colleagues before mocking it? The silence on the other end said everything. Later that night, I got a group message from our mutual friends. They're planning an intervention this weekend, want us to sit down and hash things out. They mean well, but they don't get it. This isn't about one bad joke or one moment of poor judgment. It's about 2 years of me not seeing what was right in front of me. I started thinking back to all the little comments she'd made over the years. At least one of us has a real career. Maybe once we're married, you'll want something more challenging. It's cute how excited you get about those little art projects. I'd brushed them off as playful teasing, but now I see them for what they were, signs of her true feelings. Today, I was teaching my kids about respect. We talked about how we treat others, how we make people feel valued. A 5-year-old raised her hand and said, "If you don't respect someone, you shouldn't pretend to be their friend." Out of the mouths of babes, right? I finally sent my fiancé, ex-fiancée, a message this morning. Just one line. "Thank you for showing me who you really are before we got married." She called immediately. I let it go to voicemail. She left a long message about love and forgiveness, about how relationships take work and compromise. She said I was throwing away something special over pride. But that's not it at all. I'm not throwing away anything. I'm saving myself from spending my life with someone who fundamentally doesn't respect who I am and what I do. Someone who thinks it's okay to humiliate their partner to impress others. Final update. It's been 2 weeks now, and I think this will be my last update because I've finally found clarity. The intervention our friends planned happened last weekend, and it turned out very differently than anyone expected. I agreed to go mainly because I was tired of dodging calls and messages. They chose a neutral location, our favorite coffee shop where we used to have Sunday brunches. When I walked in, I saw my ex-fiancée had been crying. Our friends sat around like mediators at a peace conference. Before anyone could start their prepared speeches, I spoke up. I told them about something that happened in my class that morning. We were doing an exercise where kids had to draw what they wanted to be when they grew up. One boy drew himself as a ballet dancer, and some other kids laughed. I asked them, "Is it kind to laugh at someone's dreams?" The coffee shop got quiet. I continued, "That's what I teach 5-year-olds. Basic human decency. Not just ABCs and finger painting." My ex-fiancée started crying again, but I wasn't finished. I pulled out my phone and played a voice memo I'd saved from 6 months ago, her complaining to her friend about how embarrassing it was to tell clients her fiancé babysits for a living. The friend who organized the intervention looked shocked. She hadn't known about that call. "This isn't about one night," I said. "It's about pattern of behavior I was too in love to see." That's when something unexpected happened. Her brother, who'd been quiet until then, spoke up. He told everyone about how she'd always been obsessed with status, how she dropped her childhood best friend when the friend became a waitress instead of going to college. He said he'd wanted to warn me but didn't know how. My ex tried to defend herself, saying she was under pressure at work, that she needed to maintain a certain image. She even suggested I could get a more professional job while keeping teaching as a hobby. One of our friends, who works as a nurse, stood up and left. Then another. Soon, it was just me, my ex, and her brother at the table. She asked if there was any way to fix this. I told her yes, but not in the way she was hoping. I suggested she take some time to figure out why she values status more than genuine connection. I recommended therapy, not couples counseling, but individual therapy to work on her own issues. The next day, I got an email from her boss of all people. He apologized for his part in the party incident and shared that his wife is a special education teacher. He wrote about how her work changed their son's life. The email ended with, "I hope you know that most of us at the table that night went home feeling ashamed of ourselves, not amused." Yesterday, I was packing up her things from my apartment when I found an old photo album. There was a picture from our third date, us at a school fundraiser where I was running the face painting booth. She was wearing a $500 dress, paint smudged on her cheek, laughing genuinely. I remembered how she didn't care about her dress getting ruined, how she spent the whole day helping me paint kids' faces. That's the woman I fell in love with. Somewhere along the way, she lost herself to the pressure of maintaining an image, and I lost her too. This morning, I submitted my application for a master's in early childhood education. It's something I've been putting off because she always said it wasn't worth the time and money. The irony isn't lost on me. Ending our relationship has pushed me to invest more in my career, not less. A lot of people have asked if I regret doing it so publicly, if I wish I'd handled it privately. Honestly, no. Sometimes you need a dramatic moment to snap you out of complacency. That night at the party, her mask slipped in front of everyone, and I finally saw the truth. To those saying I threw away a 2-year relationship over one incident, you're wrong. I saved myself from a lifetime of being made to feel small. And to the person who commented that teachers shape the future while bankers just shape their bonuses, that's not fair either. Every job has value. The problem wasn't her career choice. It was her inability to respect mine. I'm not writing this for advice anymore. I'm writing it for anyone else out there who's being made to feel small by someone who claims to love them. Your work matters. Your passions matter. And most importantly, you matter. Tomorrow, I'll go back to my classroom, put on a silly voice to teach phonics, help kids learn to share, and maybe do some finger painting too. And I'll do it all knowing that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm meant to do. The ring? I sold it and donated the money to our school's art program. Seems fitting somehow. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.